all over the living room floor. There was no way for the detectives to explore the apartment without displacing the blood everywhere, and the sergeant's footprints had tracked like arrows to the doorway, where we stood looking at each other in shared disbelief. "We think it's the old man," he'd said. "You think?" I'd asked. A tic had started under his left eye. "Hard to tell at this point." "Where's Mrs. Yanovich?" I'd whispered hoarsely, not really wanting to know the answer. He jerked a thumb over his shoulder toward an open window where 2 detectives stood, talking to the air outside. "She's out there, threatening to jump," he'd said, and by the tone of his voice, he believed it to be a foregone conclusion. I met Benny on the sidewalk, and we exchanged a few tense greetings, but as soon as we approached the front of the apartment building, the stocky sergeant appeared in the entranceway like an oversized temple djinn. "What are you doing in the 7-9, Ben?" Lozario asked. He was using his bulk as a barrier, trying to look like he wasn't denying entry to a homicide cop from another precinct. "Things in the 9-4 not hot enough?" "How you doing, Lou?" Benny asked, looking pointedly at the splash of vomit on the sergeant's jacket. "Oh, peachy," Lou said. "I appreciate your stopping by, but we've got it pretty well covered." Benny pointed upward. "The Yanoviches, huh?" "Yeah, looks like." Benny gestured to me. "Officer Rhyzyk here tells me Mrs. Yanovich is perched on the ledge, threatening to jump." Sergeant Lou looked at me with a raised brow. There were only 3 Rhyzyk cops at that time in Brooklyn. Sergeant Bernard Rhyzyk, my uncle, who was standing before him. The notorious Phillip Rhyzyk, who happened to be my father. And me. "She's been out there how long?" Benny asked. Lou shrugged. "About half an hour?" "No luck talking her back in?" "Nah, and she's too far away to grab. And honestly, I'm not sure we're getting her back into the apartment at this point." Benny looped one arm through mine. "Oh yeah? I got an idea that might help with that situation." Lou crossed his arms and stared down at his size 12 double-wide shoes, frowning. "Look," Benny said, "you gonna step aside, or do I have to use patrolwoman Rhyzyk here as a battering ram?" The sergeant moved to the side, sweeping one arm out in a be-my-guest gesture. I led the way up the stairs to the Yanovich's apartment, then paused outside the door, letting Benny and Lou enter first. I stared at Benny's back as he gazed at what was left of Stefan, still lying undisturbed on the floor. The forensics crew seemed uncertain how best to bag his mortal remains. "The hammer's in the sink," Lou said. "Looks like she tried to wash it off, but the, solid bits clogged the drain." Benny pivoted on his heels, his face a careful mask of professional detachment, and walked to the doorway where I was standing. "Did you see?" he asked, motioning with his head toward the body. "Not really." "Yeah, some," I said. He took one arm and steered me into the apartment toward the window where the homicide detectives were still standing. "Don't look," he ordered as we passed Stefan. "What's happening with Mrs. Yanovich?" Benny asked the older of the 2. The detective shrugged. "She refuses to come in. She won't even talk to us." "We got a net coming from the street, but I don't know if it'll be here in time," the younger detective said. Benny turned to me. "Betty, see if she'll talk to you." Suddenly, I'd gone from being a spectator to being a participant. My heart began to thud in my chest. The most urgent coaxing I'd done thus far as a cop was to persuade a teenager to return a pilfered apple to an outdoor fruit stand. The detectives moved away, and I ducked under the raised window. The wood frame cracked and warped, craning my head to the left. On the ledge, about a foot wide and covered with pigeon droppings and feathers, sat Mrs. Young.